What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Still Slaps, music reactions, music reviews, music commentary. Today on deck, we have the new Coldplay album, Music of the Spears, album review. I'm Shuby, songwriter, singer, rapper, here repping for Still Slaps. And thank you for joining me. If this is your first video, welcome to the channel. We appreciate you stopping by and hope you guys enjoy the review. So Coldplay, Music of the Spears. This album, originally I was excited to hear this album off the first single, which was Coloratura, I believe. That was earlier on in the year. I was greatly excited because that single, right off the bat, to me, it sounded very, very heavenly. I love the atmosphere that single painted, especially for Chris Martin. I think Chris Martin is a great vocalist. I think Chris Martin is a very credible songwriter. Obviously, it's still good to see him still kicking along with Coldplay in 2021. I think they've earned a spot in music history. You know, I think they've got a great catalog about them. And Coloratura really did paint that vivid imagery sonically on the production that I was very, very much looking forward to on this record. I didn't know that that was the direction that they were going to take for the album, so it had me excited. I went into this thing definitely looking forward to hearing more of that painting in the production, because like I said, I just think that's perfect for somebody like Chris Martin, who at this point in his career with Coldplay, they have a very, very good dynamic in painting a vivid picture with the music. And I want to say that this album, you do get some of that. You do get a lot of this album is very, very bright with the synth work. I think that in a lot of cases, the album comes off as being too bright, just too much. A lot of the synth work that you're hearing on this album, unfortunately, Coldplay falls into the category of they did the big thing with the synthwave where they pulled from The Weeknd. You know, everybody, it just sounds like at this point that everybody is pulling too much from each other. And, you know, what do you expect? I mean, I come to assume by now that a lot of these mainstream acts are, unfortunately, they're just leeching off of each other, and you're gonna see that with the mainstream music. And I know with Ed Sheeran, it gives me a lot of what Ed Sheeran did with his single, ripping from The Weeknd and ripping from a lot of the Justin Bieber thing. It's just a rotated cycle. It's a rotated cycle with sonically how these albums are all sounding from big mainstream artists. And I think Coldplay fell into that category, even though Coloratura was a great cinematic piece when you're talking about the way the music sounded. They kind of clickbaited me. They clickbaited me in the sense of, like I said, this thing is sonically sounding like a rotated cycle. And it's just sounding just like these artists. It's ripping from a lot of artists. You got some features on here, some obvious features. The feature with Selena Gomez. Selena didn't sound bad by any means. I think it was just, it was a solid placement on the you know, the way she sounded. It was a very, very obvious placement with the way she sounded with her feature. BTS, that was a big thing. Obviously, BTS is huge right now, and it's a big pop smorgasbord. It's a big just juicy, wet, mainstream, you know, mess. And you know, it is what it is. I don't really have any flack against them. Obviously, you know, the only thing I really think about at this point is I just hope those guys are getting credited what they're owed. It's a boy band, doing boy band stuff. Obviously Coldplay had to marry that idea of, latching on to the biggest musical group. And I think My Universe was one of those things where I think that would have been my tolerance for the big, like I said, the album is very, very bright with the synth wave. I think that would have been the spot for me with My Universe. That is a very limited spot. If it were to happen, I can let it go with My Universe, because it's an obvious signal point. If you want to go that direction, it makes sense, and I can't be mad at it, because obviously if it's what the masses are expecting, then you're gonna get it, and sure enough, that's what it is. I think where this album did a good job is there's, like I said, there's a bunch of different spots on the album where you have that coloratura effect, where you do get a little hint of that skill, a little hint of that style, where it feels like a cinematic piece with a lot of the synthwave work that's on the album. And I think that I've always been a sucker for that. I've got some of that on my own production, on my own tracks that I've arranged and put together and put out for myself. You will never catch me dissing tracks like that. I feel like this album could have gotten a little bit more. There could have been some darker tones. I think that it would have been cool to see Chris Martin, Coldplay play with a little bit of more darker tones in the album. So just to balance it out, balance the track list out. And if they were going to go this direction with the big brightness of the synthwave, it didn't have to be the amount of tracks that it did. I mean, it's not a long album. And thank God it's not a long album. I definitely don't want to hear what this thing could have been 20 track plus. I just don't. It definitely is credit where credit is due with it. Thank God this album is only 12 tracks long. Some of these aren't even really tracks, so like many little interludes. And like I said, that's where you kind of get a little bit of the nice little coloratura lead single kind of effect, where they kind of spread it out, the atmosphere of how this thing sounds. But other than that, like, the songwriting on this project is very, very cringe in a lot of places, and it's unfortunate. I saw Max Martin is credited quite a bit on this project, and I'm curious as to why that is. I feel like Chris Martin, like I said, is a very, very very solid songwriter. I feel like I don't think Max Martin is definitely oversaturated on the songwriting front. I feel like if it was a case where, they feel like it would have been a cool collaboration, I feel like it just, maybe that's where they went wrong. There's a lot of this sounds like it's forceful pop songwriting, cringy lyricism, and I don't know if they just oversaturated with the writing, with that type of avenue. But it could have been a lot better. The songwriting could have been a lot better. I don't think I'll be returning to this one. I think I'll kind of just let it be. I think it was, like I said, if you want that atmospheric, light synthwave work, you're gonna find a lot of that, and you're gonna get a lot of that on this album. But other than that, I think the songwriting needed work on here. It's oversaturated with how many big pop songwriters are on this project. So yeah, that's the way I'm feeling. I think that it could have been a lot better writing wise. It could have been a lot better balanced out with the themes of the production. Other than that, you guys comment below how you're feeling about this thing. Please leave a like and subscribe if you're feeling the review. And thank you once again for coming by and checking out the channel. Once again, this is Shuby for Still Slaps. Coldplay, music of the Spears, still slaps.